It's been, and Sadhna, Dr. Sadhna Jaiswal from Loyola Academy, Secunderabad. It's been wonderful to listen to you. You've been brilliant. But a lot of what you said was, I think, experiential also. You gave us some very good examples. My question to you is, you talk about making it collaborative, interactive, study of the vicinity. In a normal degree classroom, how do we incorporate this in our teaching?
Yeah, I think that's been, the big challenge, and I know it's very easy for me, who's not bound by a classroom, to say this, and this is what I've faced quite a lot. Just to go back to something, maybe my own experience 30 years ago, I did my bachelor's in Stella Maris, Chennai. It was a set syllabus, and it was that time part of the Madras University. Very boring, dull syllabus. It was typically what is an Indian family, what is, caste, and their religions. It is. But what our faculty had done was they had a parallel system. We did this textbook, which was very fast, and it was done in the usual. But they also had a parallel system. For example, they expected us every Thursday, I remember, afternoons. All 3 hours were only seminar days, and in that month a topic from the text was given, but we could alter it. For example, we did not have to speak about social movement, what is a social, that. We could speak about contemporary social movement, something that we saw or we read about. So I think that went a long way for many of us, and now when I look back, for example, recently I've been thinking about what was it that I learned in those years. What I actually got from the actual textbook was very, very little, I would say. But we also learned how to write for the exam. That was done, and through tests, and you cracked it, as you say. But there was another level. For example, something that I think the college did, which is important. We also have to do community service in social sciences. I think the minimum was like 4 hours in a month. And we had to document that, we had to give a report. We also had to do that in groups, and they were very careful. They broke us up because they saw when we sat in classes, we sat with our friends. So they numbered us in a way where we were all split. So I had to go and work with girls who I would not have, who are not my friends, but I made friends with over the years. So I think thinking of ways in which you do the syllabus, but in which you inbuild ways in which you make the syllabus more meaningful, more meaningful and more relevant, not to just to yourself, but to the world around you. I think that would go a long way. But as you flagged, I know it's difficult. I know, especially with large numbers, and you all also, many teachers have said, grading numbers, volumes of papers has increased. The burdens of teachers have been increased. So how can we also do additional work? But I think that is the challenge. How do you make that?
If I can just interrupt you here, it's not just the additional work. There are, I'm sure a lot of us here also, who are working on research, who are working with the vicinity. Personally, I have done it, the area where our college is located, I'm from the Department of History. So I have worked on the area. The colonies surrounding it, since history is my subject, I have done on the evolution of the Secunderabad cantonment. How did it start, how from the Nizams it passed out, and so on and so forth. But to be very frank with you, I haven't been able to teach that to the students, because it's not just the syllabus. The time constraint in a semester system, where you have the examination pattern to be given enough importance and all these things. So individual research or autobiographical, what you're saying, I don't think how we are able to blend it smoothly without the students feeling that it's a burden, an additional burden for which they need not spend any time.
Good morning, ma'am. Kalavati from Onkamu College from the Department of Sociology. So when it comes to the classroom experiments, it has to be constant. Like when you were talking about the family system. So even we do have that topic, even now we teach as a part of it. But we've gone a bit ahead, like when we do talk about family disorganization and further how it leads to the divorce, and divorce has been increasing. So when we start it, more than going to the disorganization, we could talk about the functions. But before starting functions, I start with my own family, like how it has been working and how it goes about. and I encourage students to talk about their own families, like the role of mother, the role of father, role of siblings, and how they get along in the crisis, how they tackle it, and who plays the key role. And in one of the classes, what I got to hear, like one child came and spoke boldly that ours is a family which has broken already, and we have been going through quite a lot of crisis. But I am happy that my parents are departing, but they are going to stay in the same colony next door. I can see them, but I am happy that they are happy being apart than being together. And she said, like, it's fine, like, than seeing them quarreling every other day. So I didn't have any point on that. But later on, I tried telling them, like, see, like, this is the impact, like what happens when normally parents quarrel in front of the children, and they may, the whole concept of having one's own family might test, and the further consequences, how it will have a longer impact on the society. So this is one, like the experience sharing what I normally do, and then of course there will be certain field studies which I normally take. The more than study, it's going to be visit. Like we do a chapter on village studies, like age-old studies are like a part of the syllabus, and like if you take the latest ones also, like they're quite descriptive and time constraint and all that is a factor. So this time I took them to a group of villages, different groups, but like I told them to, yeah, of course they had a schedule and they were all under the confusion, like what are we going to study this? I said first you see what it is, observe it, maybe later you are going to come back and tell me what you have observed there. Then maybe you can think about like what's the next step. So it was like just a survey, or maybe like you can say minimal things, so that they talk to them, interact them, and get some data on their socio-economic, cultural background. And when they came back, they were not interested on all these aspects what they were supposed to cover, but they saw that there were various problems like sanitation problem. That was the huge thing. They felt how bad it is, how do they manage, and it's all more caste-oriented, class-oriented. Though even if they have toilets, it's only for the women, and which is again like the upper class to the upper class. And in one village, they felt like women were not allowed to answer the questionnaire. It is the men who said, no, we are going to answer. Why should they answer? Like, and they were so very rough to the girls. Like they were like really taken back. Ma'am, like we thought like women are liberated and we are getting empowered and all this is not there, but it is there. So these kind of exposures will really make them to realize or move closer to the hardcore realities. Thank you.
This issue that you brought about, flagged about divorce, I think is important because there is this narrative that divorce is a sign that the family, it's a negative sign that, it's this wonderful family system which is so good, it's collapsing. And what you highlighted and this construction, I think that needs to be flagged. That when there is violence or people are not able to live, peacefully together, separation or divorce is better, so where and this is something we've had a lot of problems with the predominantly male audience, where they say, no, you should not see divorce as an alright, as an acceptable phenomenon. You must see it as negative. And I think these are the biases that we need to work with. And I mean, you detailed the other endeavors, but I think what was flagged earlier is how would you link it? It shouldn't be, I mean, one of the criticisms, for example, I get a lot of requests from very metropolitan, very elitist schools that have, 11th, 12th saying, can we send our students to come to your village and, where we work? And I said, no, we don't want that. Because many take this as an excursion, right? Okay? And it's just a jolly trip and they can go back and they might feel a little pity or, might feel, shocked. But it stops there. Right? How do you make it reflexive? How do you make it critically? And when I mean critically reflexive, that is what these parameters of the pedagogies need to be borne in mind. When you may say critically reflexive, it is to say, when I come to know about something, I have to say, what is the source? Why did it happen? What are the linkages? What is its impact? Who told me about this, or who is reporting what? So there are certain questioning that takes place, and I think that is what is very often missing. Because social science teaching has become a body, a descriptive body of knowledge which is just given, the inbuilt questioning is not taking place. I just want to also just flag something that I didn't share with you. as I was introduced, I worked for 14 years at the National Institute of Advanced Studies. We started a doctoral program maybe in 2007, 6 or 7, yeah, 6. And we got students from very, very tough entrance exam, both quantitative, qualitative, across the country, and very bright students came. I did an experiment with one class where they had to have an exam. I said, okay, it's an open book exam, I'm not good at it. So when they came, I wrote answers. I had pre-made answers. I said, now for the next hour, you will read these and your thing is to write questions. You will write that. And these were like the top students. They included students with engineering background, they had physics, they were from humanities, they were extremely very, very good when in it. But they found it very, very difficult. And that was because right from our early days, we are taught to answer, we are not taught to ask questions. For example, when we ask, this is something we've done in schools, it is always about what is, or who is the president of India, or best where. But why and how are questions that we're not used to asking. Whether it's about physical things, but also about social things. So this issue about divorce is, okay, who divorces now? My parents. But why did it happen? Or if it is increasing, why is it increasing? Or if it is increasing, how do I understand it? So those, I think, the questioning of those processes and then contextualizing some of the processes and experiencing is what we need to have students do.
Ma'am, as an answer to Mrs. Sadhana and also as an addition to what you have been contributing so long, I want to say something. I am Dr. Bushprani from Holy Cross College, Trichy. Actually, you said that one of the ways by which we can pluralize the social sciences is to make the students look into the vicinity. Actually, we have brought this into our curriculum. See, we have got one program called as Major Research Program that's called as the Rescapes Program. We have adopted nearly 18 villages, nearby villages, and every student, it is mandatory for every student from the first year to the third year. That is, she has to go to the villages. Twice she has to go to the villages, study the conditions, and with the participation of the villagers there, to do something to improve the status. So this is what we are doing it. At the end of the third year, she has to submit a research report also. See, actually every day you can see our college bus going to the villages. So we staff members used to say, some of us used to say, we are spending such a lot of money on this. What is the real outcome of all these things? We do not know. So there will be a lot of questions. Actually, 2 years back, I went as a panel member in an interview board for appointment of the clerks in a leading bank. One of the interviewee, when she came, she said, please give me a posting in a village. And we were really surprised. And we asked, why do you say like that? Usually it is really surprising for us, because usually they will be asking for a posting only in a city, but you are asking for a posting in a village. What has made you to just to say like that? Immediately she answered, when I was a college student, I was taken to villages. There I could find that how these villagers are ignorant about saving and other things. I want to inculcate the habit of saving, and many of them do not know what are the banking operations, how to get loans and other things. So I have to do something for that society. So I want you to give me a posting only in a village. And fortunately, actually, she was from our college. So at that time, I could think that, see, we used to say, why we are spending such a lot of money? At least in front of me, I am having one student who is saying that this is the impact of that village program. I think if we have the autonomy, if we have the freedom, we can include all these things into our curriculum. Thank you.
But also when you design a program like that, to expect to have some sort of what you would call impact parameters, and to be prepared for